Welcome, Yvo Jansen, to Offshore Expertise Hub. Can you tell our readers and viewers how do you see the decommissioning market? How do you see it will evolve in the next 5 years?
Excellent, Naida. Very welcome and thank you for having us. So it's excellent to be here. The decommissioning market and lifetime extensions in the North Sea is an absolute growth. So until the year 2025, together the 4 countries, UK, Norway, Denmark and Netherlands, will spend 30 billion euro on this market. So there's many expertise to be rolled out. So for instance, the first thing that we will launch together with NOGIPA and EBN in the Netherlands is the decommissioning planning, which actually looked at all the assets in the North Sea, in the Dutch shelf, where things have to be removed partially or complete. So basically this is still in the same stakeholder and supply chain as the current offshore market. However, different expertise, marine wildlife preservation, certification, sometimes even use of the current asset for other purpose. So think about the recycling of steel. It's a massive operation. So to ride the wave, not just on the current great oil price, we are back to almost $80 per barrel, which is good for the market and the investment, but also to saturate the skills of resources across the countries. This is a great place to be, and the North Sea is definitely growth, at least the coming decades.
What does this involve from a certification perspective?
It's very interesting because the cradle to grave, let's say, principle of the third parties and verification bodies actually starts with all the erection and the operations. If you go really to lifetime extensions and, well, decommissioning, actually it starts to get even more interesting if you look at personnel, so personnel certification, which is basically the same. If you look at lifetime extensions instead of demolition, which is actually, you know, for the environment and actually the structure, the jackets, the flow lines could be very efficient and effective to use. There will be several certifications because you can do the physical inspection, visual, checking everything. But if you talk about fatigues of the material, we need different skill set. We need different competences actually to understand how long we can prolong the lifetime. If you look at really the decommissioning, like I said, recycling, even in the European Union, you know, we have to lower the emissions. We have to make sure everything is safe. And if you look at even the preservation and certification of the wildlife, don't forget, we are facing a lot of installations floating and fixed, mainly from the 70s and 80s. There's lots of actually marine underwater wildlife is there. This is something we really have to understand in order to preserve that and not just the great economy and the great capital expenditure.
Thank you. Can you tell us, our speakers, can we preserve environment with all these ongoing offshore energy developments?
Exactly, Naida. That is the proof is in the pudding there, because we have to collaborate to make actually the whole decommissioning operations until 2030 do it on a sustainable way. The only way we can do that is to collaborate in politics with parties like Greenpeace, including biologists of the marine wildlife, in order to make sure we have a balanced approach. Just taking away the old asset may indeed sometimes harm the underwater wildlife, whereas on the other side, just erection of new assets might also have an impact. So there's many studies have done this, and the only way we can do that is to collaborate and work together with the branch associations, the supplier, the operators, and the other non-government organizations.
Which services are most in demand from your oil and gas clients?
Well, Nadia, we have a span from cradle to grave for all the needs, actually from third-party certification. So if you look at to comply with the Offshore Safety Directive, third-party independent verifications, up into the, let's say, the decommissioning and the certification of the recycling phase. So there's many actually services we comply with. Of course, basically the services we do in the operations and during the EPC phase of the offshore assets can be used as well in the decommissioning phase. There's very specialist engineering, transportation, lifting needs, but also the certification, validation, verification in order that it complies not just with the operator specification, not just with the safety and the governmental and the authorities, but as well where we just mentioned this sustainable way to preserve in the end the North Sea for the next generations. This is why we are there, and this is why we have to work together.
Thank you.